Hi guys, thanks for joining me for another video. Guys, do you know that one of the biggest arguments, from Globers when dealing with the heliocentric model, spinning ball Earth, outer space, gravity, um, proving that we do live on a spinning ball, that there is curvature that is measurable, that is real. When you factor in all the things that they say, they will give as the reason that all of this is true is because of the math. They go back to the math, M-A-T-H. They say that it's been measured, calculated, predicted, because someone created a mathematical equation to prove what reality is. Even though we don't experience the reality, even though we don't see it, feel it, because the math is real to them and they can calculate and make predictions and make calculations and say they can measure something, they say that it's real, that that's what makes it real, rather than the reality being real. They have reified something theoretical to make it as though it's real. With that said, there is this online magazine, The Atlantic, that I just stumbled across, and it has different sections. When I went to the technology section, actually what I did was I was entering in information about what other things that we know without a shadow of a doubt or beyond a shadow of a doubt, what do we know that is not real, but that is taught as real and believed to be real by many, many people? Well, Santa Claus. The answer is Santa Claus. Why? Because adults tell children that Santa Claus is real, that Santa Claus does live in the North Pole, that he has flying reindeer, that every year, December 24th, Christmas Eve, he makes his trip around the world giving presents to the good boys and girls of the world. So when I was Googling a search about, Santa Claus and, just calculating his trips, how long it takes him, how to make quote unquote predictions as to how long each zone or area that he's in will take. And I was astounded to find out that they actually have it in this magazine, The Atlantic. Of all places, they have it in the technology section. So when I saw this article, once again, it's just mind-boggling that this is in the technology or the science section. This is in the technology or science section, and it says Santa's Christmas Eve workload calculated. And it has a whole full article about this. It is stipulated that Santa Claus exists, that he spends the night of December 24th circling the globe in a sleigh pulled by flying reindeer, that he gains access to the homes of children that celebrate Christmas, and that he gives them presents, and that he does this in the dark, unseen. Granted, it seems impractical. Over the course of one night, St. Nick has to stop by the home of every Christian child in the world, of which there are a lot, an indeterminately large number of kids waiting for their gifts. So, not only have they reified Santa Claus, but they are reifying that this is something that happens every Christmas Eve. But in this article, they go on to say that it's just Christian children who are getting Christmas presents, which in the model of the secular world, that is not true. They say that if Santa Claus has you on his good list, you'll get presents. But if you're on the naughty list, you will not get presents. So they have went a step further here. But then it goes on to say, I decided to figure out how big a task I decided to figure out how big a task Mr. Claus faces as he races west across the face of the globe, staying ahead of the sun, and I did, or anyway, I came up with a pretty solid estimate. The methodology. What I wanted to figure out is this: how many Christian children live in each general area of the world? The region is important. Where the kids live impacts the feasibility of the thing. If kids are distributed evenly, Santa has all night to reach everyone. If they live in the same place, he has about half as long. It's impossible to find this information without considering countries. No one tracks demographics based on longitude. So for every country in the world, of which there are a lot, I really needed to figure out the population broken down by age, religion, and time zone. So then it goes on, thanks to the CIA, we can readily determine populations by age and religion, and by combining the two measures, roughly approximate the number of Christians for any given age group. The equation is this: compare population of young people with density of Christianity and plot it on the globe. From that, you've got total population and the times at which Santa should hit them. I ignored the mechanics of distance between houses, after all. I can't know how many houses have multiple children. What regions are more densely packed? The math, it seemed, should be easy. The math, okay, which is my whole point in all of this. Should be, isn't. Before getting bogged down in the incredible nuance of the world's religions and time zones that went into determining these numbers, I'll share the end result. So he's actually made these calculations, people. The result: there are just over 526 million Christian kids under the age of 14 in the world who celebrate Christmas on December 25th. In other words, Santa has to deliver presents to almost 22 million kids every hour on the night before Christmas. That's about 365,000 kids a minute, about 6,100 a second. Then they go on to say totally doable. Totally doable. Like as a matter of fact. Especially when you consider the uneven distribution of kids in the world, Santa needs to hit 22 million kids every hour. If Santa starts at the international dateline and heads west, the first 4 time zones he passes barely contain that many kids waiting for presents. And when I saw this chart, oh my gosh, it's very comprehensive. Very comprehensive information they have gathered. Let me expand it. Okay, so on the night of December 25th, how many kids worldwide does Santa have to deliver presents to? How does he get it done? Here's your answer. Santa delivers to an estimated 526 million kids, which is 22 million kids an hour, 365,000 kids a minute, or 6,100 kids a second. Below, how those figures break down by time zone, reading from right to left. So, we have children to visit by time zone in millions. These are the hours needed by time zone. This is the world. Okay, these are all the continents. On this side, okay, children visited cumulative. They have made a whole chart. Okay? I mean, to show how many children Santa delivers to. And they break it down. I mean, like I said, it's very, very comprehensive, very detailed. So when you get down to the bottom and it says, the alternating orange and yellow bars above represent approximate areas containing 22 million kids. In other words, an hour's work. If a bar is wider than a time zone, Santa is making up time on his journey. Narrower bars means he has less time. So, what I'm saying, the point of this whole presentation today is to prove that people can spend a lot of time doing math, calculating, coming up with different equations, getting the math, knowing formulas, putting all of that energy into something that isn't even real, that does not even exist. This man, who do they say did this? Philip Bump for The Atlantic. Now, like I said, because this is in the technology section of this online magazine, The Atlantic, further, just it's mind-boggling because he really spent time going into detail about something that doesn't happen, and then also for someone who doesn't even exist. So if they can do all of this, then it's not a far stretch of the imagination to know that that is exactly what they've done with the spinning ball, Earth. They calculated theoretical math for something if it were real. On a sort of like what is it? Sort of like a postulate, like in math. When you postulate something, all you're doing is you're presenting your opinion about something, your theory, your projection on something. What if this were true, if this happened? That's what this math entails. Something that has not happened, that shown no evidence to have happened, something that doesn't even appear to be real. But you're spending all this time on an if, is very hyper theoretical. And so this article continues and it says the caveats. As I said, the math was harder than it seemed. For your edification, here are the complexities and oddities I encountered and which indicate you might want to take my calculations with a grain of salt. Countries often have multiple time zones, and it isn't easy to figure out in which the people actually live. France, given its many remote protectorates, has citizens in 12 time zones. Where should I allocate its 12 million kids? That one's actually easy since most live in France, which has one time zone. What about the United States? Because the states and our territories, we have 11 time zones, with most of the children in the 4 time zones that make up the continental U.S. How do I distribute our 62 million kids, or Canada's? My point is there's a lot of guessing and a little relying on Yahoo answers. Not all countries celebrate Christmas on December 25th. The next one, it can be tricky to determine how many Christians live in a country. Not all Christians celebrate Christmas. These are the factors he has to factor in and consider. Not all children that celebrate Christmas are Christian. The CIA's data isn't always up to date, and I will come back to this point in a minute. The next one, people in the Netherlands and Belgium celebrate Sinterklaas on December 5th, which is basically a festival of Saint Nicholas. The next one, significant digits are cumbersome. And finally, Santa would have more than 24 hours. I'm going to read this one. On Christmas Day, New York City will see just over 9 hours of daylight, meaning nearly 15 hours of dark. In the Northern Hemisphere, Santa has a little more night to play with. If the children were evenly distributed throughout the world, north and south of the equator, the night would average out to 12 hours. But like the rest of the population, more children more children live north of the equator, meaning that on average the nights are longer, meaning Santa has more than 24 hours. Even if we gave him 26 hours, he'd still need to cover 21 million kids an hour. So let's just say 24 and move on. Below a time zone by time zone breakdown of Santa's trip west, delineating how many children Santa has to serve in each and how that compares to the total number of children in the region and the children awaiting presents in the world as a whole. Over 500 million kids in the span of one night, all while distracting the experts at NORAD with gallivanting decoys. If anyone has ever deserved sainthood, it's Nick. Okay, so this is Philip Bump down here, a former politics writer for the Atlantic Wire. This article was back in 2011, so it's pretty old. But just knowing, okay, so he really went into a lot of detail. The different time zones, children visited. I mean, to make all of these different calculations. Look at this. I mean, this is math, percentages. I mean, just calculating the time, speed. I mean, just look at this. Here's the math. It's incredible. So the point is, once again, how much effort they put into creating mathematical, evidence, calculations to prove something that's not even real. Look at this. I mean, this is very comprehensive. It's just very detailed. I mean, every country. Look at all of this. These different time zones. So if someone were to look at this and say, well, here's the math. You see, this math proves that Santa Claus is real. I mean, this math proves that he's real. Look at how much time goes into this, and look at, they've calculated how long it takes for Santa Claus to cover a certain region, a certain time zone. Look at the percentages. Look at the time, the length of time, how many kids in a certain zone and a certain amount of time. This is all real because look at the complexity of it. This is very elaborate math here. Just I mean, they are predicting something, and this is an adult magazine. This isn't for children. It's like basically saying Santa Claus is a real person. Santa Claus does fly his sleigh. He and his reindeer, his flying reindeer, yeah. And that this is just what happens. It's amazing. So all of that to say that we are truly, you can't just believe something just because there's math to support it. You can't do that. And something that is not even science, something that is not observable, testable. They're treating Santa Claus as this magical being who can somehow, with these flying reindeer, um, they are basically beating the speed of light. How he's able to get in and out of homes that fast. And they're basically saying, oh, it can be done. It's doable, as the article said. It's doable. No problem. What's the problem? I mean, yeah, he can see 6,100 kids in a second. Yeah, and so once again, it's magic. It's definitely magic that they are presenting. And the other thing that I was talking about, like with the CIA, they said that the CIA gathers information on the census. We know that Census Bureau, all of them, they work on gathering information, gathering population, where people are, how many to a household, the demographics, the psychographics, all of those things, and just the age, how old you are, what are your likes, what are your interests, and things like that. But this whole thing about Santa Claus, I started thinking, I said, kids have been writing to Santa Claus for years and years and years. There's a place that they are actually sending their mail to. They put stamps on envelopes, written elaborate letters to Santa Claus, and they've been given mailing addresses. Just laying out everything. This is where I live. This is, what I want for Christmas. This is how old I am. Possibly sending, pictures of themselves, sending it out, supposedly going to Santa Claus. But I know who Santa Claus really is. It must be the CIA. I mean, let's look at this website, for example, where it says Write to Santa. It says, since 1914, children have had the joy of receiving letters from Santa Claus for free, and the tradition continues today. Yeah, and then, yeah, who is writing the letters back to them? Okay. It's just ridiculous. To receive a written letter from Santa Claus, just send a letter with a legible return address, mail to, and this is one of the addresses, Santa Claus, P.O. Box 1, Santa Claus, Indiana, 47579. And this was last year. Every letter received by December 20, 2019 will receive a response from Santa and the elves. Just remember, the earlier the better. Donations are always appreciated and may be sent with the letters or mailed to Santa at the same address. So not only are they lying to your kids, they're asking for money. They're asking for money so that you can help, as the parent, that you can help with this farce, with this big lie, with this deception, and they want you to send money to fund them as well. Let's keep this thing going. Let's make another 100 years. I mean, it's already been over 100 years, since 1914, they said. So let's keep this going. Kind of like NASA. Yeah, send us money so that we can continue to lie to your children about where they live, where they are, how they got here, what's happening with the world. Let's continue to fund this organization that is lying to your kids. Send us more money. Lie and also fund me so that I can continue the lies. It's unbelievable. When you really think about it, and just the safety. I mean, I'm like, so you're basically sending this to the CIA, FBI, just all these secret agencies collecting, gathering information on you, and you're also lining their pockets. You know, you're funding them. So I just think it is beyond. You can't. It's like, as they say, it's stranger than fiction. It's stranger than fiction. Um, but it is appalling to me. And when we really think about it, there's nothing fun about thinking, oh yeah, Santa Claus, Santa Claus. Yeah, this man, he comes in the dark, as the article said. Yeah, he comes to my house when I'm asleep at night in the dark. You know, that sounds like a like either a stalker or some type of a predator. Yeah, let them sit on Santa's lap. Let the kids sit on Santa's lap. Who is this person? Could potentially be a predator. Yes, he could potentially be a sex predator. Just some things to think about. But in all honesty, this whole thing, so this hopefully is someone's wake up call. Because if they can put this much effort, I mean, they spent who knows how many hours calculating all of these fine details, the math, calculating how long in different time zones, how long it would take for Santa Claus to make his rounds every December 24th. And for those of us with eyes to see who know that Santa Claus is not real, that's a conversation you're gonna have to have with your kids. I mean, I never told my kids that Santa Claus was real. I just basically told them that Jesus is real and your parents and your grandparents are the ones who are so-called Santa Claus, the ones who are actually giving you these things so that they can appreciate more. Because anything else is just, not only is it deception, but you're using fear tactics. And then you're also saying, I'm going to let someone else decide whether you're naughty or nice. You know, to use as a way to kind of manipulate, as a tool, I guess, to manipulate you into doing what you're supposed to do. Oh, I guess you're not going to get anything for Christmas. Santa's not happy with what he's saying. You're going to be put on Santa's naughty list. You know what I'm saying? Rather than, if your kids are bad, you need to spank them. You need to deal with that. And they need to understand that you are the judge. You are determining whether they are good or bad. But yeah, I'm going to end this video for today. I thank you all for joining me. We just have to look at all these things for what they really are. Not to be manipulated and or bullied into going with the status quo. Going along to get along. No, those days are over. The truth is going forth faster, stronger than ever before. And we just have to continue spreading and teaching truth and to hopefully wake someone up to let them know that all of this stuff that's done is to mock us, I believe, and to control us while they're robbing us, they're stealing from us. So it's just, there is nothing good with this corrupt cabal, um, Freemasonry or secret society, Illuminati, satanic, Luciferian world system that we are living in and under. But to God be the glory, Jesus Christ will come back. Okay, he already has all power in his hands, and he's already defeated the devil. The devil is under his feet. And I know that we all have to walk our walk of faith, as well as not be afraid of spreading the truth. Not being afraid to let people know, yes, Jesus is real. There may be so many people who they believe that the earth is flat, things like that, but they don't believe that Jesus Christ died for their sins. They don't believe that Jesus Christ it was God who came down from heaven and who became a man, who died and then he rose on the third day, who died for our sins. They don't believe that. That is the most important thing that you can possibly know. That is all that matters in this world. That is all that matters. Well, I hope that this video blesses someone. Once again, thank you for joining me. If you haven't subscribed, please do so today. Give the video a thumbs up if you do like it, and I look forward to your comments. Thank you guys, and you have a blessed day.